So hear me out, right? I'm sitting in my living room watching YouTube videos as I usually do to gain some inspiration and do some like self-reflection for the year ahead, right? And it dawned on me that I actually manifested where I am right now. Girl, now this is not going to be no little manifestation video. Not little, I don't mean it like that, but this isn't going to be one of those videos where oh, this is the steps to manifest your life. No, 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 no. This is me just sharing my story and my journey that I just now realized. The idea of manifestation, I was introduced to many, many, many years ago. I want to say about 9 years ago, when my mom stumbled upon The Secret. That was like my first introduction to manifesting. Now, for the longest time, it's always been this like elusive, like complex concept that's hard to kind of grasp. Like, what do you mean? I think, and then it becomes what are we talking about? And that's just me. That's just the way that I try to understand complex concepts. Is I want to know the science of it to understand it. I'm not getting into the science of manifesting either, but I want to tell you a story about how I've manifested where I've come today and how it ties into my appearance. I come from very humble beginnings in South Africa. I don't come from a rich upbringing or anything like that. But one thing that I've always leaned into that could be categorized as the Lulu is my imagination and my strong will for the things that I want to achieve. Like stubborn. Firstly, let me say, living the life that I'm living now in America, although I'm not living like a super lavish lifestyle, is a very tall order coming from where I come from. But it's sheer willpower and manifesting, if you will. A little backstory. In 2018, I literally hit rock bottom in South Africa. I was depressed. I had started dabbling in things that I shouldn't have, and I had lost everything. And I came to a point where I was like, okay, something needs to give because I'm not getting any younger. And I believe I was like 22, turning 23 at the time. So I'm like, when you hit your 20s, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to have my life figured out and all of that. So moved from Johannesburg, which is like a big city in South Africa, all the way back to a small like farm town called Ermelo in Mpumalanga, and that's where my mom was staying. I moved back home, started from scratch, and I was like, okay, let me recenter and let me figure out how I'm gonna get out of this situation because I know that I'm called to so much more. I was working at my mom's real estate agency, getting no pay, mind you, just humbled, okay? Humbled. And I came across this au pair agency. I don't even know how, but I decided this is it. I'm gonna sign up to be an au pair and I'm gonna go to America. Still completely delusional because how? The idea of going from farm to New York is crazy. And so I did it. I told my mom, I was like, hey mom, I need your help with this because I can't afford it. Can you help me, sign up for this agency? And she said, okay, but I promise you this is like the last time that like I can do this because you're grown now and you really need to be like getting your stuff together. And I was like, I got you. Signed up for the agency, went throughout the whole process. The whole time I'm trying to keep my calm and not like jinx myself by getting overly excited because I tended to do things like that where I would get overly excited and then be extremely disappointed that it doesn't pan out. So I kept my calm until I had a family match. And my flight ticket was booked by the agency. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this actually happening? And I got on that plane, said goodbye to my family. I flew and I landed in New York. Now I'm coming straight out of a farm. Literally, I was living on a farm. Literally. And landed in New York. Complete change. But that was the beginning of me believing that I can experience certain life experiences if I just put my head down and focus towards that end goal, no matter what's happening in between. Okay, that segues into my life currently. fast forward from moving to America, I end up getting married and giving birth to a beautiful baby boy. At that time, I was in a very toxic, abusive, in many ways, shapes, and forms marriage. I ran away from that marriage, literally packed a bag and ran. A friend of mine knew somebody who was living out in Georgia who was willing to help me escape, and I was living in Vegas at the time. So packed my bags, she booked a ticket for me, which I'm so grateful for, and I packed my baby and I ran. I moved to Georgia and I kind of settled in. I went through a whole depressive state, just adjusting from moving out of a toxic environment into this new environment that was calmer and less like crazy. And I slowly started to like heal over a period of time. And I remember when I would sit on the couch with this girl, we'd become like this, really close. And I remember, and we'd sit on the couch and we'd just daydream about like, oh my gosh, if we could, what would we do right now? And I was like, after everything, I would really just want to invest in myself. After having a kid, I feel like you lose a bit of yourself, and I just wanted to regain that confidence and that I wanted to feel sexy. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to exude confidence, which I had lost during that period of being in such a toxic relationship. And so we'd sit and we'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to get like a BBL. I want to get this done. I want to get like a chemical peel. I want to get my nails done. I want to have my lashes done. And at that time, money was so tight that those thoughts and ideas were literally just daydreaming. Literally. Like at that time, I never had an inkling of an idea that I would actually be able to get to that point. Now, hear me out. The topic of getting cosmetic surgery might seem very shallow as it pertains to manifesting, but I think what I'm trying to convey here is that the manifesting part, the internal work, the thoughts and the feelings, and aligning your focus towards something, and the undeniable belief in yourself or that it can happen in some way, shape, or form is the 80% of the manifesting. Getting your body done is the easy part. It's for me specifically, getting my body done was the easy part. It was the coming out of such terrible conditions and wanting to feel good about myself and doing that internal work and deep diving and letting go, releasing of all the toxicity that had been pent up over that period of time, to get to a point where I can invest in myself physically and it manifests physically what's been happening internally. And however you feel about cosmetic surgery is up to you, but take this story with a grain of salt. I'm not trying to give advice on, oh, this is how you get cosmetic surgery. No, this is not what this is. I'm telling you the story of how the strong willpower and belief in something for yourself can actually come to fruition. Now, let me go back to the story. So going from sitting on the couch with my friend, just pure daydreaming, another bad thing happened, which almost felt like I was tumbling or spiraling downward in the opposite direction to all of these dreams. This friendship with this girl who was my sister fell out. We had a really bad fallout and pretty much I was put out. So 4 months after escaping this toxic marriage, I was now being put out of my newfound home in Georgia with a 8-9 month old at the time. Extremely scary. So now how do I go from leaving South Africa, being in America, finding love, losing love, finding new balance and losing that balance? Like, how do I come out from this? Like, what is the comeback? Is there a comeback from this? Because I'm pretty down low. Again, sunk straight into depression while still trying to maintain a job and raising my kid. Long story short, I found a place. I found a basement on Facebook Marketplace, and that's where I stayed until I got onto my feet and found a different living situation where I had roommates for a little bit. I remember when I was sitting in that house with my roommates, and I was sitting on the couch, and now again I had come to a place of like equilibrium somewhat, where things were somewhat normal and the environment was stable again for me to start my introspection and like working out of that survival mode. I was sitting with one of my girlfriends that I had met at my new job, and I was like, girl, I want to get my body done. Not realizing that that's something that I had said 2 years prior. And I was like, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know why, but I had gotten my tax return, and it was a decent amount of money. And so I took $500 of that, and I called up a surgery place, did my consultation or whatever, and I was like, hey, I just want to put a deposit towards the surgery, and I booked it for a year in advance to give myself a year to come up with the money to get, the surgery. And so put down that $500 deposit, and obviously use the rest of the money to put towards savings and groceries and other necessities and stuff like that for my kid. And I was like, I give myself this year to figure out how I'm going to get this done. I have no idea how I'm going to get it done or whatever, but that seed of wanting to invest in myself and my appearance was planted way before this. So 4 years later, after sitting on the couch with my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend, and dreaming about how we would invest in ourselves, I have now actually made my first actual step towards getting this surgery. Something that I've always wanted to have done since I was back in South Africa. It wasn't a trend, it wasn't me trying to follow any sort of anything, but like I just really wanted to get this done for myself. And my friend who was with me at the time of booking looked at me like I was crazy, like, girl, me and you earn the same amount of money. I don't know how. I want to do it too. This is her talking. She wanted to do it too, but she's like, I don't know how. And I'm like, girl, I just have to be a little bit crazy in the pursuit of the things that I want. This YouTube channel is an example. Like, I lost my previous YouTube channel due to this friendship that fell out, and it was hacked and it was taken away from me. And then starting this YouTube channel again was really me taking a step towards or reclaiming my power in despite devastation, much like me putting my deposit towards the surgery. And now I've had my second surgery, which is a tummy tuck that I've always wanted to do, because after losing weight from the pregnancy, I had loose skin, and I just wanted to tighten that up. Now, I'm probably done with surgery the way that I feel right now, but I'm sitting on this couch again. Here I find myself on the couch reflecting on what I want to achieve moving forward, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't even realized that I've actually achieved the things that I had wanted for myself sitting on a couch again. Well, I got my tummy tuck, as you guys know, 4 months ago, but then I got my BBL 2 years prior. I'm sitting on the couch again reflecting on how I've made these things possible. So like, I started out with saying how elusive manifesting is, but literally just introspecting and saying, oh my gosh, this is what I want. This is what I really want. My heart's desires, whatever that is. And just, pinning it in your subconscious. And because you have that pinned in your subconscious, you're automatically going to take the steps without even like having to like cognitively like focus, like, I mean, planning is fire. I would always recommend planning. But our minds are so powerful that like the planning kind of happened after the necessary steps were taken and the thought was implanted. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually manifested. Like, I actually did it. I'm sitting here in such a loving, warm, safe space, which is what I wanted for myself. I have the resources to invest in my body, my mental health, my physical health, and my physical appearance. All the way that I look all started with a thought, internal work, and then taking steps towards getting that done. I put the deposit down for the BBL, $500 deposit down, not knowing how I'm going to get to it. A year later, I got my BBL. And then a year later, I got my, 2 years later, I got my tummy tuck. And I'm sitting here and I'm feeling so like proud of myself. Like I really did that. I really endured a lot of like adversity, hardships, all of that. But because there was that undeniable belief that this is something that I really want, my heart's desire, and never stopped working in that direction, has gotten me here where now I can sit on the couch and reflect on how I made it happen. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can totally apply this for everything else moving forward. Like now my heart's desire is really to cultivate a group of girls on YouTube. I really want to cultivate financial freedom, truly financial freedom. I want to be able to afford a beautiful life for me and my child. I want him to travel. I want him to have a beautiful life and experiences that maybe my parents weren't able to offer me. And so here's to manifesting. Girl, whatever that is, it's real. And to whoever is watching this, thank you for listening to my little story. And here's to 2026 for real. For real. Feel it coming in the air. Okay, I'm done.